Hi guys, hi girls. I'm Deborah. Once I found out about things that I should never have known. As for now, I didn't tell anyone about those, but I'm not really sure whether I'm doing the right thing. So, here's my story. My parents and I live in the suburbs. It was a small, quiet district where everyone knew each other. My mom worked as a translator, so she often went on business trips to a neighboring big city, where the office of a large international company was located. Once she took me with her. I liked her work so much that I decided to become a translator too. Moreover, there was a suitable university in the neighboring city. I could get the needed degree there. I graduated from high school, entered that very university. Living on my own with only some limited help from my parents was difficult, but I was able to handle that. In order not to depend on mom and dad's money, I decided to find a job. I thought that a translator student's language skills could come in very handy at a hotel. So I looked for vacancies in the best hotels in our city. Well, it was my first disappointment. In order to find work at a prestigious hotel, like those where the majority of foreigners used to stay, you needed some work experience. They told me so at my first interview, and at the next two as well. I got very upset. At one of those interviews, the female administrator noticed my frustrations and, apparently pitying me, offered me an alternative: to become a maid in their hotel. Being a maid totally isn't easy, of course. But she told me that after working for 6 months as a maid, I could once again be interviewed for the position of an administrator. After some thought, I agreed. Firstly, I really needed to start somewhere. Besides, they promised a very good salary. In addition, I could adjust work shifts to fit my university schedule. A win-win situation. Don't you agree? I've never told my parents and friends where I worked. The parents would have frowned on my decision. And the friends, well, they would have laughed at me anyway, even if I told them how much I earned. I decided that I would tell them everything after I got the administrator job. After the very first days of work, I realized why the administrator had warned me about the difficulties of work. Most of my shifts occurred at night. Before I got this job, I was sure that maids slept quietly in the hotel service room at night. Boy, was I mistaken. It turned out that night was the most important time of the day for the hotel as a whole. You see, the hotel I've been working at was quite famous in the city. It was the most expensive and most opulent one, with a classy bar restaurant where the tables had to be booked a month in advance. During the day, there were lots of business meetings held at the hotel's bar. And in the evening, it was the most popular place for dates. And those who had their dates at the hotel's bar often stayed for the night, which is why the nightlife in our hotel was quite vibrant. The girls who worked at the reception told me that in addition to providing top-class services, the hotel guaranteed all guests complete anonymity. That was the most compelling reason for many people to frequent it. Many guests spent only 2 or 3 hours in their room and then left. Of course, the room needed to be cleaned up quickly and prepared for some new guests. So I had a lot of work at night. Well, over time I got used to it, and soon I started to even like my work. For one reason, it was never dull. Something interesting and curious happened here every day and every night. Guests often forgot something in their rooms, ranging from underwear to credit cards. They regularly broke something, tore down the curtains, beat dishes. The work was never easy, but never dull. Besides, my service room was located at the end of the corridor on the floor, where the majority of the hotel rooms were located. Therefore, I often had the chance to see our guests. Just imagine how I was surprised when I saw the familiar faces. I've already told you that the city isn't that big, and the hotel I worked at was considered the best. So it was always chosen to be a place for various secret meetings and dates. It turned out, for example, that my foreign literature professor was dating my university classmate, and he was 50 and already married. And my distant relative, who was the same age as my dad, really liked young boys. 2 of my male college groupmates turned out to be an actual couple, and the famous hostess of our local TV channel enjoyed having huge parties at the hotel room. So I managed to learn a lot of stuff about a great number of people. Well, I never used it anyway. Even when we met, I never told anyone that I knew of their little secrets. But then I discovered something that I myself would rather not know. One evening, I was already going to my dorm when I saw my mom in the lobby of the hotel. I've not been home in a very long time, so my first reaction was to approach her, give her a hug, and ask how she was doing. But then I remembered that she knew nothing about my job. In addition, she was not alone. My mother was accompanied by an imposing and wealthy-looking man. The man was definitely a foreigner. He looked like a foreigner. He spoke like a foreigner. He even smiled like a foreigner. That's why I thought my mom was at the hotel, because of her job. And if it was a business meeting, my appearance would have definitely been out of place. Mom and the man went to the hotel's restaurant, and I thought that I've made a correct assumption. I decided to call Mom later, tell her that I missed her and that I would try to come home next weekend. However, my mom didn't answer my call in the evening. I wanted to call her once again, but I was so tired because of all the work, so I promptly fell asleep. In a week, Mom and that same man came to the hotel again. I was very upset. It was already late at night, too late for any business meetings. It was my shift, so I got curious and decided to track them. Besides, I worried for Mom. Roads could be dangerous at night, and I wanted her to get back home in one piece. I was shocked when I saw that Mom and her companion never actually left the hotel that night. They dined at our restaurant and then went straight to the hotel room. I saw them together, getting one of the most expensive rooms. I observed how he grabbed her waist, and she just laughed and smiled at him. I just couldn't believe that. She was my mom, and she was happily married to my dad. Mom and Dad stayed together for more than 20 years. They married when they were still students, always cared for each other and loved each other deeply. And now I saw how Mom entered a hotel room with a stranger. I felt devastated. To the very last, I refused to believe what I'd seen. I really hoped them to discuss some confidential questions in the hotel room or something like that. Well, I actually eavesdropped on them, and that was clearly not a business meeting. It seemed that they weren't wasting time on talks, if you know what I mean. Almost crying, I fled the service room, took out my phone and called my dad. I really wanted to tell him everything right there. But while I waited for him to pick up his phone, I calmed down a bit and realized I just couldn't tell him such terrible news. Well, besides, you never want to tell somebody something that important by phone. So I decided to keep silent. Dad was very surprised by my call, but seemed happy to talk to me. He told me that Mom went on a very important business trip to another city. According to Mom, that new client of hers was a representative of a foreign affiliate of some important company. I listened to his words and imagined what could have happened if I told Dad that Mom wasn't busy with the business talks. Since then, I grew restless and could not even sleep normally. Sometimes I even thought that I betrayed my dad by keeping silent. But still, I had no nerve to tell him about everything. You see, despite all of it, I still loved Mom and couldn't harm her. And I really wanted my family to remain whole more than anything. Yet Dad would have surely left Mom if he knew about our infidelity. I even stopped visiting my parents. Now I told them that I was very busy with work and studies, but in fact I just couldn't look into my mom's eyes. I knew what she was hiding after all. Meanwhile, Mom and the man regularly spent their dates at the hotel. Once I even was assigned to clean up their room after their stay. There was no option to refuse that order, so I entered the room with disgust. When I was cleaning the bathroom, I discovered a pendant on a shelf. That pendant was my mom's birthday present. My dad and I had spent a lot of time at the jewelry store looking for a perfect gift, hoping to appease Mom. And now Mom just forgot our gift in the hotel where she spent a night with her lover. At the time, I just couldn't hold back tears. So I took the pendant, finished the cleaning, and left. For the next day, I called Mom, just for the sake of interest. I told her that I've noticed a pendant like hers by accident in one of the jewelry stores. I was wondering how she would behave in such a situation. At first, she pretended not to be interested, but at the end of our conversation, she casually asked me the name of the store. I told her about the store, knowing for sure that she would not find there what she was looking for. In a couple of days, an administrator at the reception asked me whether I saw a piece of jewelry in one of the rooms while cleaning. I gave a negative answer. I was fortunate. There were no surveillance cameras in that bathroom, so no one accused me of stealing. The very next weekend, I went home. I wanted to show Mom the evidence of her infidelity. I wanted to tell her that I knew everything. I really wanted to talk to her in person because I could no longer keep everything to myself. But when I arrived home, I wasn't able to do so. Mom and Dad were so happy to see me. They gave me all the attention and care and even prepared some special dinner with my favorite dishes. Besides, they actually behaved like family. They've been joking around, hugging each other, hugging me. I just couldn't talk to Mom and ruin everything. Now I don't know what to do. I don't want my family to break apart, but I also can't just watch how Mom cheats on Dad anymore. Maybe you can give me some piece of advice? Please tell me what to do. I'll be so very grateful for your comments, advice, and even some simple words of support.